tuatahi ki ngā ahika, ngā mana whenua te rohi nei, a tēnei te mihi ki a koutou ngā iwi o whanganui, a tēnei te mihi mai, karanga mai, whakatau mai, ngā uri o tahu pōtiki ki te Waipounamu, nā reira. I paua mā e toa mā a tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa. Ko waiau, ko Hikaroro o te Mauka, ko Waikouaiti te Awa, ko Puketeraki te Marae, ko Kaiterua heke te hapū, Kaitahu te iwi. Haere. My name is Brendan Flack. It's a great honour to be here and to listen to the kōrero. So many strands that resonate with our little awa, Waikouaiti. When we crossed the mighty Wanganui River last night, I just was in awe of the size. Our awa runs a lot smaller, Waikouaiti, for that reason. But our project is He Pātaka Wai Ora, and it's our dream is to once again have a healthy pātaka storehouse. So the rohi of Kāti Huirapa ki Puketeraki extends from the Waihemo River in the north to the Waiweke, or to Purihurihu in the south, which is just north of the Otago Peninsula, runs inland to the main divide, and we share that interest with other hapū. But I just want to talk briefly about the East Otago Taiāpure, our paua, our taua, back in 1992, applied for a Taiāpure, and when they did, it divided the community. It caused ructions. It caused this argument between iwi and kiwi. And living in the south, the far south, we're just 30 minutes north of Dunedin. It's a different world to the North Island here. So it took 7 years for this Taiāpure, which is a community fishery, to be established. And since then, much of our work has been based around the restoration of the kaimoana, so those species that live in the salt water. But we do have 4 estuaries, and we do have awa, the Waikouaiti. Now, a few years ago, the Otago Regional Council gave us a call, and they said, congratulations, you guys have got the 3rd best little river in the country. And we thought, what does this mean? And they said, yeah, we want to celebrate this. We want a pōwhiri. We want to celebrate this 3rd best little river. It turned out that they based their measurement on the 3rd best little river in the country on less tūtai being in the river then than there was 10 years ago. We thought that's a pretty short sort of a time frame. Let's go back. And so we looked at some maps that were produced in 1880. Hori Krai Tairoa talked to kaumātua in Te Waipounamu. Those that were living in 1880, and they described the Mahinga Kai, those areas that they gathered their kai. And we thought, well, wouldn't that be a better starting point for this project, He Pātaka Wai Ora? Let's go back to when the people were actually living off the land. And so with these maps, and some of the whānau from Te Waipounamu will recognise these maps, came a list of the resources, those things that were in those areas. And some of those areas we didn't even know where they were because the access had changed. And so, talking to one of our kaumātua a little while ago, she talked about the Waikouaiti River and was it a spelling mistake, Waikouaiti? Was it Waikouaiti? Was it the river that got small? And it was kind of a riddle. She says, how did it get small? Sort of thought on this. And it's the fences that were put up there that denied access to our whānau. I'm not sure if you can read this transcript here, but it talks about access being denied. It talks about the species. It talks about the forests that were there around our Awa, our little river, the Waikouaiti. So we began to use this. We first of all had to track down some of these places because, dual names, triple names. So we came up with, a list of Mahinga Kai sites. And after gratefully accepting some funding from Te Wai Māori Trust, we called a hui in 2015 at Puketeraki, at our marae, and we invited the local community, we invited our Tangata Tiaki, the landowners, commercial eelers were there, white baiters were there. End result was we came up with these 9 Mahinga Kai sites on our little awa, listed there. 4 of them are freshwater, 4 are estuarine, and 1 was marine, one that we've done a lot of work around the Pāwa restoration, Huriawa, our pā site. Now, normally I'd stand here in a presentation like this and I'll be flanked by a couple of scientists that could describe some of these numbers and letters, but what we did was we sampled, we wanted a snapshot of the health of the river today, or last year. So for 23 months we've taken water samples that look at the nitrates, the phosphates and the ammonium, things that can give you an idea of the health of our awa. We took temperature, dissolved oxygen, you name it. We looked at the river banks. We looked at what was in the river. So we were talking about those. Heard about the importance of those macroinvertebrates. One of the things. So this wasn't in summer. This was a day that the river did freeze over, but the breaking of the ice wasn't just the water there. It was also getting the trust of the landowners, because one of the sites was a place that our hapū had not been to for generations. It was a landlocked fishing easement and completely surrounded by private land. So yeah, we did, and many of the whānau here will be familiar with these methods of SHMAC, site scores, the in-stream vegetation surveys, riparian strips as well, like we looked at the fencing of our river. A lot of results. I've got a book here that's got about 120 pages of science results, essentially. But what we saw was a spike every, we call it June, July, so that's our winter. Saw a spike in the nitrate concentration. And it mirrored what the Otago Regional Council had shown too. So we're still, working on some of the, we've got theories of why that might happen. The conclusions that are in our report, the He Pātaka Wai Ora, looked at that spike in nitrates, but also looked at the low vegetation canopy that caused our river to heat up in the summertime. The upper catchment, where you would think that would probably be the most healthy, we had low numbers of these sensitive invertebrate species. And of course the sediments, we're at the bottom of the catchment there, and the sediments we've talked about, heard today already about forestry and that increase. So anyway, our recommendations, we're continuing on with this monthly surveys, sampling. Thankfully, we have the Otago University just over the hill, so they give us mates rates when it comes to the water sampling. We've identified certain hotspots on our river. But one of the key recommendations, or 2 of them really, is to continue building the awareness of the river and building relationships, but also, understanding more of that mātauranga, because the mātauranga essentially a lot of it has been lost in our hapū because of that access. But one thing that makes us very proud at home is this site restoration. These 3 of our rangatahi got together with a group of young people to restore an old waka landing site, one that's got 2 roads running through it and a bridge and a railway, and it's been used as a dumping ground by the roading contractors, but they wanted to breathe new life into this place. So the first day of their wānanga, there was whanaungatanga, there was waiata, and then the second day they learned how to paddle these canoes and also how to build a small po. And they took these po on the third day, they took these po on these wakas and some plants and began restoring Te Tauraka a waka. And it's very difficult to launch or have a waka there now because of that the Public Works Act in 1860s, where much of our wetland was drained. Yep, plenty of samples of the tuaki at the bottom end of the catchment and our tuna. Those tuna went back into the river, but it was just I guess a snapshot of what the health is of that place now. Now, this project, I think, had a lot to do with the fact that we were granted we applied for and now have a mā on our river. So it says 18 kilometres. I think that's a typo. It's about 8 kilometres fresh into the confluence of the north and south branches of that. No commercial eeling, so it's a sanctuary really for tuna in the future or currently. So our project now is sort of branched to the Wairua, and it sounds a bit grand to say a 200-year restoration, but I think if we give ourselves anything less than 200 years, we'll be pretty disappointed. It's a slow recovery for our awa. It's the Waitai and the Waimāori, but it's also that spiritual connection that our young people have. So we use our wakas, we take them across our river, we plant and we plant and we plant, and we get rid of some of these exotic species when we can, and we just keep planting. Nō reira, kua mutu mātou kōrero. I'd just like to acknowledge these people with their logos there, our iwi that supported us in our struggle to breathe life back into our awa, and also to the Waimāori Trust, ngā mihi kia koutou mō koutou tautoko ki te kaupapa nei. Nō reira, kia ora.